Mark's heart stopped as he stared at his phone screen in horror. The message he'd meant to send to his brother about his gorgeous new boss had just been delivered to her. She's stunning. Not just pretty, the kind of beautiful that makes you forget what you were saying mid-sentence. I haven't felt this way since before Sarah died. The gray, delivered notification mocked him mercilessly. There was no taking it back now. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories that capture life's most awkward, beautiful moments. 3 years after losing his wife to cancer, Mark Thompson was finally finding his rhythm as a single dad to 8-year-old Emma. Their morning routine had become a well-choreographed dance of breakfast preparations, backpack checks, and rushed goodbyes. This particular Tuesday morning was no different. Emma's cereal bowl sat empty on the kitchen counter, her lunch was packed, and Mark was running late for his first day at his new marketing job. "Dad, you forgot to sign my permission slip again," Emma said, her small hand extending a crumpled piece of paper as Mark frantically searched for his car keys. "Sorry, sweetheart," he mumbled, scribbling his signature while simultaneously checking his watch. "We really need to get going." Emma studied her father's face with the perceptiveness that children sometimes possess. "Are you nervous about your new job?" Mark paused, kneeling down to her level. "A little. It's been a while since I've had to meet new people." "Mom always said you were good with people," Emma replied, her eyes, so much like Sarah's, looking directly into his. "She said you made her laugh on your first date even though you spilled water all over yourself." Mark smiled, feeling the familiar ache that accompanied memories of Sarah. "She never let me forget that, did she?" He kissed Emma's forehead. "Come on, kiddo. Let's not be late." After dropping Emma at school, Mark arrived at Horizon Marketing with 15 minutes to spare. The modern office building gleamed in the morning sunlight, its glass facade reflecting his nervous expression back at him. He straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and pushed through the revolving doors. The receptionist directed him to the 3rd floor, where he was told to meet his new supervisor. As the elevator doors opened, Mark stepped into a bustling open-plan office. Before he could get his bearings, a woman approached him with confident strides. "You must be Mark Thompson," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Olivia Chen, head of creative strategy." Mark felt the words catch in his throat. Olivia was striking, dark hair falling in soft waves around a face with intelligent eyes and a warm smile. She wore a simple navy dress that somehow looked anything but simple on her. "Yes, that's me," he finally managed, shaking her hand. "It's great to meet you. Let me show you around," Olivia said, leading him through the office. She introduced him to colleagues, explained projects, and outlined his responsibilities with an efficiency that was impressive without being intimidating. By lunchtime, Mark had settled into his new desk and was reviewing the company's client portfolio when his phone buzzed with a text from his brother, James. "James, how's the new job going? Boss a nightmare?" Mark smiled and began typing his response, thinking about Olivia's kindness in helping him navigate his first morning. "Mark, quite the opposite. She's stunning. Not just pretty, the kind of beautiful that makes you forget what you were saying mid-sentence. I haven't felt this way since before Sarah died." He hit send without looking, then returned to his computer. Seconds later, his phone buzzed again. Expecting James's teasing response, he glanced down, and froze. The message had gone not to James, but to Olivia Chen, whose contact information he'd added during the morning orientation. Mark felt the blood drain from his face. He stared at the screen in disbelief, willing the message to disappear. But there it was, delivered and now marked as "read." His mind raced through his options. He could pretend it was meant for someone else, claim it was a joke, or simply hide under his desk until retirement. Before he could decide, his phone buzzed again. "Olivia, Mark, could you come to my office, please?" The walk to Olivia's office felt like the longest journey of Mark's life. Each step was heavy with dread, his collar suddenly too tight around his neck. Colleagues smiled at him as he passed, unaware of the catastrophe unfolding. Olivia's office door was open, but Mark knocked anyway, his knuckles barely making a sound against the wood. "Come in," she said, her voice giving away nothing. Mark entered, his face burning with embarrassment. "Olivia, I am so incredibly sorry. That message was meant for someone else," she finished for him, her expression unreadable. "Please, sit down." Mark sank into the chair across from her desk, wishing the floor would open up and swallow him whole. "I want to be clear about something," Olivia began, her tone professional. "I take workplace conduct very seriously. This company has strict policies about maintaining appropriate professional relationships." "Of course," Mark nodded quickly. "It was completely unprofessional, and it won't happen again. I was texting my brother, and I just—" "Mark," Olivia interrupted, "I'm not finished." He fell silent, preparing himself for termination on his first day. "That being said," she continued, her expression softening slightly, "I understand that mistakes happen, especially when we're nervous or adjusting to new environments. I'd like to move past this and focus on the work we have ahead of us." Relief washed over Mark. "Thank you. I promise this won't affect my performance." "Good," Olivia said with a nod. "Now, about the Westfield campaign." The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and introductions. Mark threw himself into his work, determined to prove his worth beyond his mortifying first impression. By the time he left to pick up Emma from her after-school program, he had almost convinced himself that the incident might eventually be forgotten. That evening, after tucking Emma into bed with a chapter from her favorite book, Mark collapsed onto his couch, replaying the day's events. His phone buzzed with a text from James. "James, you never told me how the first day went. Everything okay?" Mark sighed and called his brother instead of texting. "You would not believe what I did today," he groaned when James answered. After recounting the text message disaster, Mark expected his brother to laugh, but James was surprisingly thoughtful. "You know," James said, "maybe this isn't the worst thing. You've been hiding behind your work and Emma for 3 years. Sarah wouldn't have wanted that." "It's not about dating," Mark protested. "It's about the fact that I completely embarrassed myself in front of my new boss. Who you happen to find stunning," James pointed out. "That's beside the point." "Is it? When was the last time you even noticed a woman that way?" Mark fell silent, knowing his brother was right. Since Sarah's death, he'd been going through the motions of living without really engaging with life. Emma was his world, but he'd closed himself off to everything else. The next few weeks at Horizon Marketing fell into a rhythm. Mark proved himself to be creative and dedicated, earning the respect of his colleagues. Olivia was professional but warm, never mentioning the text message again. They worked well together, their different perspectives complementing each other on projects. One evening, Mark was working late to finish a presentation when he noticed Olivia still at her desk, the office otherwise empty. "You're here late," he commented, stopping by her office. She looked up, fatigue evident in her eyes. "End of quarter reports. They're the bane of my existence." "Can I help?" he offered. Olivia hesitated, then nodded. "Actually, yes. I could use a fresh perspective on these numbers." They worked side by side for the next hour, the awkwardness between them gradually dissolving as they focused on the task. When they finally finished, Olivia leaned back in her chair with a sigh of relief. "Thank you," she said. "You didn't have to stay." "I wanted to," Mark replied honestly. A moment of silence stretched between them, comfortable rather than strained. "You mentioned Sarah," Olivia said suddenly. "In your text. Was she your wife?" Mark nodded, surprised by the question. "Yes. She died 3 years ago. Cancer." "I'm sorry," Olivia said softly. "That must have been incredibly difficult." It still is, sometimes, Mark admitted. Especially for Emma, our daughter. She's 8 now. Olivia's expression was compassionate. Being a single parent can't be easy. It's not, Mark agreed. But Emma makes it worth it. She's the best parts of Sarah and me combined. She sounds wonderful. She is, Mark smiled. What about you? Any kids? Olivia shook her head. No. My career has always been my focus. Though sometimes I wonder if I've missed out. Their conversation continued as they packed up their things and walked to the parking garage together. For the first time since the text message incident, Mark felt completely at ease with Olivia. As weeks turned into months, Mark and Olivia developed a friendship built on mutual respect and shared work ethic. Their team consistently delivered exceptional results, and Mark found himself looking forward to going to work each day. Emma noticed the change in her father. You smile more now, she observed one Saturday morning as they made pancakes together. Do I? Mark asked, flipping a pancake with exaggerated flair to make her laugh. Yep. Is it because of your job? Or is it because of Olivia? Mark nearly dropped the spatula. What do you mean? Emma rolled her eyes with the dramatic flair only children can master. Dad, you talk about her all the time. Olivia had this great idea. Olivia said the funniest thing today. She's my boss, Mark said defensively. We work closely together. Mom would want you to be happy, Emma said, suddenly serious. She told me that before she went to heaven. Mark set down the spatula and pulled his daughter into a hug, his throat tight with emotion. When did you get so wise? The annual company holiday party arrived in December, and Mark found himself standing awkwardly by the refreshment table, watching his colleagues dance and celebrate. Emma was spending the night at her grandparents', giving Mark a rare evening to himself. Not much of a party person. Olivia appeared beside him, elegant in a simple black dress. I'm a bit out of practice, he admitted. Me too, she confessed. I usually make an appearance and then slip away early. Planning your escape already? Mark asked with a smile. Actually, Olivia said, I was thinking of getting some fresh air. The rooftop garden is beautiful this time of year. Would you like to join me? The rooftop was transformed by strings of white lights that twinkled against the night sky. The city spread out below them, a tapestry of lights and movement. I've been meaning to ask you something, Olivia said as they stood by the railing. That text message, all those months ago. Mark groaned. Can we please forget that ever happened? No, Olivia said firmly. Because I've been wondering if you still feel that way. Mark turned to look at her, surprised by her directness. Olivia, Because I've developed feelings for you, Mark, she continued. And not just because you think I'm stunning. A small smile played at her lips. Though that didn't hurt. Mark's heart raced. What about company policy? I've already spoken with HR, Olivia said. As long as we're transparent about our relationship and I recuse myself from decisions directly affecting your position, there's no conflict. You've thought this through, Mark said, amazed. I like to be prepared, she replied. But I need to know if you're ready for this. It's been 3 years since Sarah, and you have Emma to consider. Mark thought about his daughter's words, Mom would want you to be happy. He thought about Sarah, who had loved life so fiercely and would have hated to see him hiding from it. I am ready, he said. And Emma already approves, apparently. She figured out how I felt before I did. Smart girl, Olivia smiled. She must take after her father. Actually, Mark said, taking Olivia's hand, I think she takes after her mother. Sarah would have liked you. I wish I could have met her, Olivia said softly. In a way, you can, Mark replied. Through Emma. And through me. 6 months later, Mark stood in his kitchen watching Emma and Olivia make Sunday breakfast together. They moved around each other with easy familiarity, laughing as they mixed pancake batter and debated the merits of chocolate chips versus blueberries. His phone buzzed with a text from James. "James, how's it going with the family Sunday tradition?" Mark smiled and typed his response, double-checking the recipient before hitting send. "Mark, perfect. They're both stunning in every way that matters. I've never been more grateful for a texting mistake in my life." Sometimes, Mark reflected as he joined his daughter and Olivia at the table, our biggest embarrassments lead to our greatest joys. One mistaken text had opened the door to a second chance at happiness, not just for him, but for Emma too. And somewhere, he liked to think, Sarah was smiling.